So what makes a piece of art truly great? That's something I've been thinking about since I read this book. I started it yesterday, powered through it, finished it this morning. Not because I loved it, really because I didn't like it and didn't enjoy it. But there's so many things about this book that people are just like, oh, it's a masterpiece. It's devastatingly moving. It's the work of a great writer. And, it won the Booker Prize. It won notable books of the year, like all kinds of stuff. And so I've just been thinking about this book, Lincoln in the Bardo, and thinking about this idea of like what makes something a truly like great piece of art. And in my opinion, I've always believed that what makes something a masterpiece and what separates people that are like world class at something is their ability to take the simplest fundamentals and execute them with precision and with artistry and in a way that exudes truth and beauty that other people just can't do, right? And one of the things that I think we've kind of fallen away from in the culture is we've embraced this idea of like something, in order for something to be great, it has to be, or it should be, super original. And kind of the other side of that is that if something is super original, then it's automatically great, right? And this book is super original. Like, I have not really ever read anything like this book. The way that it's put together, how it's formatted, I mean, like, just all kinds of stuff. Like, it's a very, very original piece of art. But the thing that I have a problem with is that so many people only look at the originality of it and are just like, oh, it's a masterpiece because it's something that's never been done before, right? But just because it's something that's never been done before doesn't automatically make it a masterpiece, right? Because we still have to judge a piece of art off of the truth and beauty that it brings to the world, right? That's what art is supposed to do. Art is supposed to bring truth and it's supposed to bring beauty into the world, right? So even if how it's created or how it's put together is wholly original and wholly unique, that doesn't mean that it brought truth and beauty into the world. So my thing with this book is it's very similar to me as to like a Jackson Pollock painting, right? I have learned a little bit about Jackson Pollock, and I used to just think like it's just so stupid, like the dumbest thing ever, right? And then I kind of like start studying him, start learning a little bit about him, and it's like, oh, learning about how he made the paintings that he made, it's interesting and it's super unique. And it's like, wow, nobody's really ever done that before and like tried to do that in a professional way, right? And like how he went about it was very, very original, and the outcome is very original. It's not like any other painting that you've ever really seen, right? But the difference between that and recently reading Walter Isaacson's book about Leonardo da Vinci and learning about how Leonardo learned how to paint, and then experiencing a Leonardo painting, right? Just, say the Mona Lisa, right? Everybody knows that one, right? Experiencing that versus experiencing a Jackson Pollock painting, the knowledge of how it was created and how the actual outcome that they got, right? I can super appreciate the originality of Jackson Pollock's painting and really just kind of be like, wow, like I just don't know how that guy did that, In the same way, I look at Leonardo's painting, and you understand how he brought in this idea of the sfumato and like all of this stuff, and it's just like mind-boggling. Again, in the same kind of originality sense of just like, dude, how you did this is crazy. But when you step back from them and you ask yourself, like, okay, what truth and what beauty are they bringing to the world? There's no comparison, right? Between what Leonardo does with the Last Supper or what Leonardo does with the Mona Lisa or whatever, and a Jackson Pollock painting or some of these other modern art things, right? Even if you can appreciate the originality and the creativity that went into making the thing, the actual end product of the thing, the truth and the beauty that it brings to the world is just not the same, right? And that's how I feel about this book. It's like, it's insanely original. It is like crazy to sit there and try to come up with stuff that's like similar to this. It's just really difficult. But when you step back from it and look at, okay, but what truth and what beauty does it bring into the world? There's not much, in my opinion. There's just not a lot. Like the whole question of the book, they talk about at the end, it's a book about how do we continue to love in a world in which the objects of our love are so conditional. And I didn't get an answer. Like, much less, me coming up with my own answer of what I think George's answer was trying to be. Like, I just didn't get an answer. It's like, well, how do we do that? And I'm like, well, I don't know. I mean, I know how I do it. Like, I have a very clear answer, and I have a very clear worldview and a very clear understanding of all this that comes from my belief and my understanding of my reading of the Bible. But like, what you offered was just like, I don't know. Sure, something. I don't know. Like, I don't feel like you answered the question. And so, and I wouldn't have even been able to say that was the question you were asking without having read you saying that that's the question that the book addresses. So, yeah, I don't know. Just very rambly thoughts today. But yeah, just don't get so caught up in the originality of a thing that you forget to judge it on the merits that all art should be judged on, right? Which is, what truth and what beauty does it bring to the world? How creative it is, how unique it is, how interesting the process of creating it is a whole separate issue. That does not have to do with the actual purpose of the art and the actual outcome of the art. So yeah, that's all I have. Art is all about bringing truth and beauty into the world. Don't forget that in the midst of things that are really interesting and unique, but fall flat in the actual purpose. And when you compare them to other books and other things that are not nearly as unique and not nearly as, whatever, the end goal is they bring so much more truth and beauty to the world. So there you go. That's my thoughts. Lincoln and the Bardo. First 1-star book of 2024. There we go.